Today we're going to talk about the tragic murder of Melanie Sturton. Melanie Sturton was born in Ballater, Aberdeenshire on the 8th of November 1976. She would move to Aberdeen years later to work as a carer at Nazareth House, not a 5-minute walk from where she lived, and she was training to be a student nurse. So right away we know that Melanie wanted to do for a living something that made other people's lives better. She lived in a bedsit at 188 Great Western Road, Aberdeen. She shared that with a couple downstairs in what appears to be a kind of basement flat, and a woman up the stairs by the name of Pamela Gourley. On the morning of the 9th of October 1999, just under a month short of her 23rd birthday, Melanie was brutally, and I mean brutally, attacked with a saboteur boning knife in her own flat where she should have been safe. Because of the severity of the attack, police automatically assumed that this would have been carried out by a male. It's not hard to understand why. The vast majority of people who do carry out such attacks are male. There is no getting away from that fact, but it was a red herring. Fortunately, the police didn't take long to find the culprit. Pamela Gourley would be arrested not much more than a week later. She would be charged. At that point in Scotland, you did not have to question someone in front of a solicitor, and she confessed everything on tape. But she would then change her story and try to incriminate her boyfriend. It would make more sense in the eyes of the police and the public that a large man over 6 foot tall with a trouble of heroin addiction might murder somebody for money for drugs. But this too was an attempt at a red herring because her boyfriend Chris Taylor was 100% innocent, and he was absolutely horrified when questioned in court as a witness for the prosecution. The defence put it to him that he carried out the murder. Fortunately, the jury, for the most part, saw through Pamela Gourley's pack of lies, and she was convicted and sentenced to 14 years in prison. The leniency of this sentence was largely due to the fact that at 20 years old, and I think she was 19 at the time of the murder, she was sentenced as a minor. Now, I have my own opinions on that. However, on appeal, the sentence was reduced because it was believed that the trial judge, Lord Marnock, had showed clear and obvious bias against her, constantly interrupting and contradicting her, almost as if he was a second prosecutor, which beggars belief because I do not think for 1 minute that the prosecution needed any assistance on this. The forensic evidence all pointed to Pamela Gourley. There, there was souvenirs from the crime scene in her flat. She was seen on CCTV using Melanie's bank card. I tend to believe that it was her mother who put the idea in her head to blame Chris for it. According to the transcripts of the phone call that Pamela made to her mother, Eileen, and from Craig Inch's prison, Eileen was adamant that Pamela did not do this, and she repeatedly told her to tell the police that somebody either did it themselves or did it with her. And she would go on to say that she did not trust that boyfriend of hers. A lot of people give Eileen Gourley the benefit of the doubt, saying that she was just a mother in denial, and who wouldn't be? But the fact that she herself encouraged Pamela to incriminate an innocent man, to me, I'm giving Eileen Gourley no quarter here. This shows to me where Pamela got her devious side from. Pamela Gourley was released in 2013 and walked straight into a job that was lined up for her as part of an initiative, um, working for Timpson's in Stirling. She no longer works at the branch now. According to journalist Isla Traquair, she still works for the company, but it seems to be that she moves between branches, so I have a feeling that she's got some sort of regional manager's job. Isla Traquair actually tracked her down to her home twice. She went to the door and once got what appears to be Pamela's partner, and he didn't want to speak. And the second time she got Pamela herself at the door, and Pamela shut the door straight in her face, with the partner shouting through the window that we're going to get Isla Traquair done for harassment. But unless Isla was doing this over an extended period of time, I don't think the harassment charge would stick. So that was really just a deterrent. She has never given any sort of explanation. I don't, not publicly at least, I do not know what she said to the parole board other than she apparently described the incident as unfortunate. And that, to me, that's as if it was some sort of accident that she couldn't prevent. I often wonder what went on at that parole hearing and why the parole board believe that this issue with her is fixed if we do not know what the issue was and what caused it. How can they possibly say it's fixed? I'm actually quite concerned at the fact that she's out, and I think there is tape on the switch, and I really hope that somebody else doesn't have to get hurt or worse in order for Pamela Gourley to be back in prison. Because as much as I think the parole board screwed up letting her go, it won't take much for her to be back in jail. But it would appear that she's managed to keep her nose clean. She was busted in prison for a £4,000 drug smuggling operation, and she got into a relationship with Edith McAlinden, an equally evil woman who was responsible for the House of Blood murders in Glasgow in 2004. All of this should have been taken into consideration with the parole board. She's quite clearly a menace to society, and the fact that she would get into a relationship with somebody like that suggests to me that she still sees nothing wrong with killing people. Pamela Gourley did not give an explanation to Isla Traquair, who was acting in good faith on behalf of Melanie's family, particularly her mother Susan Patrick. However, her endeavours managed to get a lot of people back together. New friendships were forged, and Pamela's friend Claire said she would be happy for Chris to reach out because Chris was forgotten about in all of this. He really struggled with his addiction and depression after that false accusation, and I can't say I blame the guy. He had been doing so well. He was trying to sort his life out at the best of times, and that's why he surrounded himself with people that weren't on the heroin scene. Because Pamela Gourley wasn't a heroin addict. the most I believe she did was smoke cannabis recreationally, which many people do, especially in their early 20s, late teens, etc. Uh, and that would have felt like a hammer blow to him, that he had been in a relationship with somebody that would do such a thing and then try to throw him under the bus for it. But I think it's important to realise that Pamela Gourley is not the important character in all this. These friendships were forged thanks to Melanie's memory, and Melanie is the one that deserves to be remembered. She came through all sorts of adversity in her life. Diminutive stature, she was only 4'10". She was born with partial facial paralysis, which made expressions on her face difficult to convey. And she was born with a club foot, which was corrected by way of a brace, which would have taken many years, but it was corrected. And she let nothing hold her back. She was the sort of person who, in her first week at Nazareth House, she comforted a woman who was dying. She didn't shy away from anything. If anyone thought she couldn't do something, she would prove them wrong. And the fact that she would comfort people when they were dying makes me extremely sad that she spent the last moments in her life in absolute terror, and nobody was there to save her, and nobody was there to comfort her, and she did not deserve that. I had reached out to Isla and passed on a message for her to give to her mum, explaining that Melanie has inspired me to be a better person and do things every day to make somebody's day better. And that is why that even at this time, 26 years after her death, Melanie continues to be an asset to the world and humanity. That's how special Melanie is.